Okay. I'm starting today just on my super sled that I built a couple of months ago. I have two sleds, and I'll do a different one on a different video on the other one. The other one I can change, and it's a smaller one, easier to get on and off. And I also have a platform that fits on it so that I can do dados on it and so on. So it's pretty interesting. This one, there was a couple of things I wanted to try to do with this sled. I was going to put like some kind of zero clearance insert in, but as I got to thinking, I'm mostly going to use this with a 1/8 inch curved blade. I'm not going to use this big one for dados. If I'm going to do real long boards with dados, I'm probably going to do it with a guide and handheld router and my router dado jig rather than this. So I left it this way. You can see I've got, hopefully you can see these. I'll move the camera closer eventually too. I've got some T-tracks in here. This side I have one extra so that I can do some hold down type things. When I first, this normally hangs, and there's a hole right here and a knob goes on it to hang this. So I put it on and it slides really well. Now I use one of these bars. I think they're a solid bar for the one side that's adjustable as far as tightness in the miter slot. And I think it's an Incra. This side I have some of that UV whatever, that plastic stuff, which I don't recommend using. The reason is when you can't glue it on. So you've got to screw it on, which seems like that would be no problem, except that when you screw into that, it can spread it. And so it's really hard to get it lined up, and I'm sitting there using my kind of rabbit plane trying to slice those little spots off, and just a pain in the butt. It's better to use a piece of wood or another one of these adjustable ones. Anyway, so as I take it down, this is what I have. I unloosen these two bars, and I've got this piece that fits in here for this. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to see right now where this goes, but what it does is it goes in my outfeed table and sits down, and it actually stops this from going any farther than it needs to. That way I never have to worry about the blade coming out the back side. I actually, and you'll see on my outfeed table, I have a T-track for other things that I use the same way where I want them to stop. I don't want to have to think about that going too far and getting myself into a blade or a kickback situation because I'm too far away or whatever. So this just fits in 3 holes, and it's very... Anyway, I'm going to put that in, and I'll show you eventually when I take down this. So you can see now as I slide it, it stops. It can't go any farther. And the blade, you'll be able to see that later too. There's a spot here where it's hidden. It's never exposed at this end. That part is there. Then I also have these, which I'll show you in a bit, that go on it. Now, one of the things I just did is I have a jig for doing boards that I don't have a straight reference on either side. Maybe I've glued it together. In fact, I just did one this morning. That would be this board here. I'm making some parallel clamps for my DeWalt track, and these parallel guides I'll show in another video one of these days. You know, I may put it away for a while. I do all these jigs in between projects. I get on a project and I'm so focused on that, at a certain point where I think I'm thinking too much, I stop my project. I may stop right in the middle of it, and I'll think about some jig that I need for that project, or maybe I don't need any, and I just make one that I'm going to need for a project down the road. Then I get back to what I'm doing, and I don't make as many mistakes when I do that. But I know that's difficult for a lot of people too, to go back and forth. But anyway, with this one, I had glued it, and these two sides had pieces sticking out. I tried to get them close, but they weren't. Neither side was close enough to accurate. So what I did is I placed it on the bed here and got it real close to the edge. And then what I used is clamps like these. I got a bunch of these around, and I could use one of these T-tracks here, put the clamp in, and as you can see, I had 3 of them up here, but I got it in the right spot, clamped it, so it didn't matter where I had this, and I didn't bed it up here because I hadn't also done the sides too. They had the same issues. So once I could get one flat side here, then I can do those two and so on. But so that's what I did. I was able to clamp this down and come up with a straight edge. Then later I took it on the saw. I did my other cuts based on that edge. Then I put it on the saw and was able to do a perpendicular cut on the other edge. So these little T-tracks are very handy for a lot of different things. And of course, I turned this way and did this. Now I haven't taken everything off of this yet. These are some blocks for multiple. I made these, and these are for like multiple stops. And you can see I kind of, hopefully you can see that. These edges, I put a piece inside that's exactly the right size to fit in this track. I also have a Craig one that fit exactly. I actually didn't make the height based on that, but it was perfect. Then I added this recently because I needed it. This is just, and I don't want to get too far out, but you can see right here is a block that's screwed into this, and obviously I can run this out over 4 feet. So I can have a 4-foot board sticking out there, and I can clamp this down to the top and stop it wherever I want. So that is a new addition. But for the most part, this is really the what it is. Now I ran the track out farther than the edge of this because I had thought about making a little bit wider one, and then I thought, well, you know, I'm hanging this anyway, so it doesn't matter that these are sticking out a ways, and it gives me an extra 1.5 inches on, or 2 inches on both sides. So that's one thing I can do, and of course I can, you know, bring my blade up and you know, do these kind of the regular cuts, and I can clamp them down if I need to, but most of the time you don't really need to, and you can always pull back because it's safer. But it's the handle, just some scrap wood I had, and put that on there. Now the other thing I can do with this, other than being a regular sled, is I can put these, and one thing I did, this T-track, I don't know if you can tell, but I took my dado a little farther out. The problem is I should have taken it about 1/8 of an inch farther. So these are a little more difficult. So I may take the T-tracks out and cut them so they're a little bit longer. But anyway, so they're a little more difficult to get in here, or they're a little bit shorter. Anyway, as you can see, I'm having trouble getting this one in, and of course I'm trying to do this on a video, which makes it even harder to get it right. Come on. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take these down. But anyway, okay, they're both in They're both in now. So I've got to fix that part. But what I can do is, let's say I had an angle that I was going to cut, and so this is a weird angle, but what I can do is and I cut these at a 45. They don't need to be a 45. It's just, you can see that if this was square to the end, it would be all these corners would get cut off anyway. But I can set this angle, tighten this down, and I've got that angle. Now I can actually do some on either side. But the other thing I can do too is let's say normally you don't have very long boards here that you're cutting. I can also put these on and clamp a stop down so that each one of these angles are the same length or whatever. I can still clamp down a piece because it's a little harder to hold them out here, and then you're doing an angle and you could slide a little bit. So I can still put one of these in and say I have a board in there. Grab a board. If I have a board in here, I can go ahead and clamp it down, and I can even put another one back here if I think I need it more secure, so that really I don't even have to hold it then. So that is it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I hope I'm remembering everything, but and of course, like I said, I can also do stops, you know, based on, and the tape zeroes at the blade where the blade is, and so I can put the clamp where I want it and put them down, so I can have my stop blocks. This one I can use with one of these, so I can move it out of the way and do a longer piece, you know, if you're doing some rails and stiles and so on. Like I said, I don't use this as much because I do use a miter saw, and I just made a video recently on my miter saw, but so this looks pretty new because it doesn't get used as much. But anyway, that's it. I'll take some closer photos of what it is here in a second. I guess I better push the stop. Okay, I'm back now. Now I can show you how that part works in my stop back there. See, it stops, and yet there's no blade out here. That's the back side of this is not as difficult. It's fairly simple. Probably the hardest part is when I glued this stuff together here to accept this double track thing so I could put tape on it, and you really don't have to do that. Usually in a lot of cases you're going to measure this stuff anyway. So we're kind of looking at the side of this now, and going down to the end, and here, I'll move this out of the way. So that is it. And then this this piece, oh boy, I'm probably flipping all over the place here. This piece that has the stop on it, I mean, there's not much to it, just a board, and I did cut it so that it would sit in that channel real well, and works pretty good. So anyway, that comes out all the way to the end. So that's pretty much it. I hope that's enough. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye. I'll have the video on for the other one another day. Thanks.